It's Professor Moylan. This module deals with influences on consumer decision making, consumer behavioral influences, and those include internal influences like perception, motivation, learning, attitudes, personality, age groups, lifestyle. That includes situational influences like physical environment and time. That includes social influences like culture, subculture, social class, and group memberships. So let's start with the concept of perception. Perception is the process by which we select, organize, and interpret information from the outside world. Again, perception, the process by which we select, organize, and interpret information from the outside world. Three factors are necessary for perception to occur. First is exposure. You have to be capable of registering a stimulus to perceive it. And I want to go off on a little bit of a tangent here and talk about the concept of subliminal perception. Here's a famous book, Subliminal Seduction. Are You Being Sexually Aroused by This Picture? Here are the secret ways ad men arouse your desires to sell their products. There's been this belief that subliminal advertising exists. This has been around for more than 50 years. If you just Google subliminal advertising, which I did, here's what you get. Subliminal advertising, 2.2 million results. Here's the definition of subliminal advertising. The use by advertisers of images and sounds to influence consumers' responses without their being conscious of it. Hey, there's even an article from CBS News that was at the very, very top, the 10 best subliminal ads ever made. And you know what? If you go to that, if you click on that, you get this, the 10 best subliminal ads ever made. But read the first sentence. Subliminal advertising, placing fleeting or hidden images in commercial content in the hopes that viewers will process them unconsciously, doesn't work. The headline kind of implies that it does. The first sentence says it doesn't work because, of course, it doesn't. And then they go on to give you 10 examples of the best subliminal ads ever made, like the Camel logo, an oldie but a goodie who hasn't spent time searching the Camel logo for the image of a naked man with his cigarette hanging out. You know what? Subliminal advertising is all bull. It all stems back from 1957, from some subliminal ad research that was done in 1957. And here's the details of that research. The market researcher's name was Jim Vacari. Jim Vacari. He inserted the words eat popcorn and drink Coca-Cola into one frame each of a movie. So there was one frame that said eat popcorn. A little bit later on, there was one frame that said drink Coca-Cola. Now, that's 1/32 of a second. So it's way too fast for you to see, for you to register. Now, here's what happened as a result of that research. Popcorn sales increased 57.8%. Coca-Cola sales increased 18.1%. You know what? That never happened. It was all bull. He made it all up. Although I think it was really a nice touch to have the numbers be so specific. It wasn't 58%, it was 57.8%. It wasn't 18%, it was 18.1%. Well, 5 years after this groundbreaking research, he admitted that he made it all up. He did it because he had a market research company and he got famous as a result of this research. That was the intent of his hoax, to generate publicity for himself, which he did. Finally, under pressure, he was never able to replicate the research because, of course, it never existed in the first place. However, the perception, and I really shouldn't have used that word, the incorrect assumption remains to this day. There is no such thing as subliminal advertising. It just doesn't work. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to perception. We were talking about the three factors necessary for perception to occur. Exposure, you've got to be capable of registering a stimulus. Attention, there has to be a mental processing activity actually going on. And then interpretation, assigning meaning to that stimulus. Motivation is the internal state that drives us to satisfy needs by activating goal-oriented behavior. So marketers try to motivate you. A good concept in motivation is this so-called hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It categorizes motivation as being related to 5 different types of needs. And here is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The bottom, physiological needs, the need for water, sleep, food. You need to satisfy that before you can worry about safety needs, the needs for security, shelter, protection. You need to satisfy that before you can worry about belongingness needs, the need for love, friendship, acceptance by others. Then you're ready for so-called ego needs, prestige, status, accomplishment. And then finally, you're ready for the top of the pyramid, so-called self-actualization needs, self-fulfillment, enriching experiences. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is very, very interesting conceptually in thinking about needing to deal with lower level needs prior to higher level needs. Marketers try to tap into your attitudes. Now, attitudes are the lasting evaluations of a person, object, or issue. The 3 attitude components are affect or feeling, that's an emotional response, cognition or knowing, that's beliefs or knowledge, and behavior or doing, that's the intent to do something. Well, marketers decide which attitude component will drive consumer preferences and focus on that. Personality is also very, very important. Personality, the set of unique psychological characteristics that consistently influences the way a person responds to situations in the environment. Personality and traits include things like innovativeness, materialism, self-confidence, sociability, the need for cognition. Oftentimes, personality is used in marketing. For example, the ad on the left, millionaire, professor, skipper, which do you relate to? Some products are marketed as a means of personal expression. Others are targeted toward expressing or improving an individual's self-concept. I really don't like that ad on the right, unhappy with the shape you're in. I don't know for a fact if that worked successfully or not. I would consider that to be an ad kind of in bad taste. Lifestyle. Lifestyle is a pattern of living that determines how people choose to spend their time, money, and energy. Oftentimes, advertising is targeted towards a lifestyle that people aspire to. And obviously, if you buy that product, you can be part of that lifestyle that you aspire to. Psychographics is the term for grouping consumers according to psychological and behavioral similarities. We're going to talk about psychographics in class. The VALS lifestyle study done at the Stanford Research Institute in the late 70s, then updated in the 90s with the VALS 2. VALS, V-A-L-S, standing for Value and Lifestyle Survey, is the major work in this area of psychographics. Situational influences on consumer decisions. There's no doubt situations impact things. Many situational influences will shape the purchase choices. Important dimensions of the physical environment include things like decor, smells, lighting. Arousal and pleasure determine consumers' reaction to a store's environment. A lot of stores focus on entertainment because that helps enhance the shopping experience. Social influences on consumer decisions. We're members of many groups that influence our buying decisions: culture and subcultures, social class, group memberships, opinion leaders influence others, and gender roles. Let's start with culture and subculture. Culture, the values, beliefs, customs, and tastes produced or practiced by a group of people, includes key rituals, things like weddings, funerals. There's no doubt cultural values are important. Subculture is a group within a society who shares a distinctive set of beliefs, characteristics, or common experience. Social class is the overall rank or social standing of groups of people within a society according to factors such as family background, education, occupation, income. Status symbols such as luxury products allow people to flaunt their social class. So a good definition of social class would be a group of people in a society who are considered nearly equal in status or community esteem, who regularly socialize among themselves, both formally and informally, and who share behavioral norms. We can put people into one of a few common social classes that include the upper classes, the middle classes, and the lower classes. I am going to cover that in a separate little mini module on social class. So let's table social class for now and continue on with group memberships, including reference groups. A reference group is a set of people a consumer wants to please or imitate, and that therefore has an effect on the individual's evaluations, aspirations, or behavior. Conformity means that people change their behavior due to group pressure. This is often referred to as the bandwagon effect. Often, the head of a reference group informally will be known as an opinion leader. Opinion leaders are people who influence others' attitudes or behaviors because others perceive them as possessing expertise about the product. They often have a high interest in the product category and they stay abreast of it. They update their knowledge by reading, talking with salespeople, and then they share that. They import both positive and negative product information. They're often early adopters, among the first to buy the goods. What would be examples of product lines that the marketers might go after opinion leaders? Well, two good ones would be Under Armour, and they try to use sports teams as opinion leaders, and CoverGirl, which is a Procter & Gamble brand. And interestingly, they have targeted cheerleaders as opinion leaders for their peers at the high school level, and so they target them to then utilize their products and get others to look at those products as well. Now, opinion leaders are often the first to try products or services. They may be challenging to locate, but marketers are increasingly using social media to determine and attract opinion leaders. Family is another influence. Family members influence purchase roles within the family. Individual influences include things like gender, age and family lifecycle, personality, self-concept, and lifestyle. Gender, of course, are physiological differences between men and women, which result in different needs, such as health and beauty products. Trends in gender marketing are changing. They're influenced by the changing roles of men and women in society. Age and family life cycle stage. Consumer tastes in things like food, clothing, cars, furniture, and recreation are often age-related. Marketers define target markets according to age and according to life cycle stages such as young singles, young married with children, and so on. Situational influences, talked about those a little bit a minute ago, just finished up with those with regard to the concept of retail atmospherics. Retail atmospherics refers to the atmosphere in the retail environment. Apple stores, in my opinion, are the epitome of using retail atmospherics well. Their stores are pristine. They almost look like museums. Fabulous atmospherics in the store for that upscale product line targeted to a more upscale consumer. Kind of the opposite of the way Kmart historically used the blue light special to hype that this was a deeply discounted item. Using senses like smell is part of retail atmospherics. Mrs. Fields Cookies was one of the first to realize that if they just push that very, very delicious aroma of the freshly baked chocolate chip cookies out into the mall, people will be drawn to that. And that was a very, very successful atmospherics component that Mrs. Fields did. That'll do it for this module on consumer behavior influences.